All right, y'all. All right, first and foremost, give all praise to Yahweh Shem Shabbat and salute to all the brethren out here, teaching this word with sincerity and charity. Um, a little under the weather, y'all bear with me. I want to just go through this a little snippet that I took from the Sons of Thunder. See if we can watch this together. And it goes into Matthew 5. And we'll have to go there to see what's going on. Here we go.
It's book of Matthew chapter 5 and verse 43. Ye have heard that it hath been said, thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemies. Bless them that curse you. Do good to them that hate you. And pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute. What is your question about these verses?
You heard the spoon drop. You heard the silverware hit the plate. All right.
Alright, so it says, ye have heard that it has been said that you have to love your neighbor and hate thy enemy. So that was in the law. But when it says in 44, it says, but saying that you love your enemy. And it's talking about
that's not in the law. What precept says hate your enemies?
Say again.
What scripture says hate your enemy?
What scripture says hate your enemy? Because I know we're respecting a person. Who is Brother Phineas, man? Who is this joker, man? He only been in this thing 7, 8 years. I don't even know. Who is this brother? Trying to tell us that the one West, we've been teaching. Like, who are you to refute Hebrew Israelism? And so, the best thing to do, a better teaching tool, is to let you hear some of the elders. They know they teaching the same thing. They just ain't teaching it because we don't want to trim our ways for love. Because you can't just, especially when you have a large congregation, and that may be the reason too, man. Brothers have large congregations. They have to ease into these new findings that they have. Can't just give it to them. I'm just trying to, make an excuse or whatever for the brother, man. Just trying to put myself in his mental, to see why you wouldn't just go ahead and make this a teaching point the whole way. But he says there is no scripture. Find that scripture that tells you to hate your enemies. And now we see my brother look at Joel. He, we in our precept package. He in his precept package. He's looking at Joel like, hey man, I hate them with the perfect hatred, man. I'm saying? I hate those that hate you. And that cognitive dissonance coming in like, Joel, what you talking about, man? You forgot about this?
When he says, yeah, I've heard, that's the tradition of the elders. The Bible don't really teach hate your enemy. It says hate the evil, love the good.
The Bible don't really teach hate your enemies. It teaches hate the evil, love the good. Okay? That is a tradition of elders that is teaching love thy brother, hate thy enemies. Come on.
David says, I hate them with a perfect hatred. Yeah. I count them my enemies. And Psalms, according to Christ, is the law. Right. So that's the best you can do.
Now he's trying to, he know the statement, got the brother quiet. Some of the brothers is looking crazy. He was like, well, listen, this is the best you can do is go to Psalms. I hate them with the perfect hate. But Psalms, a lot of times, you should be careful trying to build doctrines off of Psalms, Ecclesiastes, Sirach, Proverbs, because these are books of wisdom. It's not a lot of context in these books. You know what I'm saying? You'll see certain verses in Psalms 5-6 times. Same way with Proverbs, but in Psalms, it's really songs. A lot of these things are songs, and they have personal personal ideas in them. They have personal feelings in them, personal emotions in them. Not necessarily teaching you to do something, but David saying that, hey man, I have this personal vendetta with these folks, and I'm gonna hate them with a perfect hatred. But he's not telling you to do that. All right, you're examining him doing something, and just like you're examining him murder somebody, and you're examining, one of his sons raping his other sister, raping his half sister. These ain't things telling you to do it. It's just things that are, some things in the Bible that are descriptive, and some things are prescriptive. But I hate them with a perfect hatred is not a prescriptive verse. All right, that is him describing himself and his self-hate. Not his self-hate, but the hate that he has personally.
Right? But since we know that this is talking about the children of thine own people, there is no scripture that says hate the enemy of your own. Right. So this is the tradition of the elders. Right. That's why he says ye have heard. He didn't say ye have read. Right. All right, go ahead. And wait, let him finish this question. What was...
And so then Joel establishes that this is talking about the hatred of your own enemies. I meant your brothers. All right, this is talking about your brothers. This is not talking about the other. Well, this is talking about your brother. This is not talking about the other nations. When it says love your enemies. All right, and to establish that, he's saying we know that. To establish that, you go in your precept package, man, and you say, a man's enemies will be those inside of his house. All right, man's enemies will be the people that surrounded him in his house. And then we'll tie that into what's being said, here. But if it was taught before Christ, if it was taught before the apostles, where did they get it from? Can we still use that verse? That may go over somebody's head. If it's taught before this statement was ever said about, a man's enemies will be those of his household, and it's already been taught to love thy neighbor and hate thy enemies. How do you justify the love your enemies as them being your own nation? All right, and how does the context change? That's my thing. If we go to the Matthew 5, Matthew 5 and 40. You have heard it said, thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy. Okay? Thy neighbor and thine enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemies and bless them that curse you. Now, you have heard it said, love thy neighbor and hate thy enemies. Thy enemies there is not your brother. You're not saying hate thy brother. You're not being taught that. Okay? You're not being taught love thy neighbor and hate thy neighbor. That's not what they're teaching. All right. So initially, verse 43, the hate thine enemy is the foreign nations. Then we go to verse 44. But I say unto you, love your enemies. Now we say, okay, well, those enemies right there in the next, and 2 words later, 3-4 words later, now the enemy has changed not to the foreign, from the foreign nations unto Israel. Yo, brothers. We got to be careful when we doing these things, man. Because again, like he initially said, nowhere in the Bible did it teach hate. But if you just want to be contentious, if you just want to try to, get one over on somebody, the best you can do is go to Psalms, with David saying he can have a perfect hatred. But are we trying to win conversations, or are we trying to save souls? Are we trying to teach the Bible correctly and sincerely? Or are we trying to, keep the people riled up because we know it's going to get views? You know what I'm saying? We know people love boot kisses. We know people love watching us cuss white people out. Us cuss out the Egyptians. Us cussing out Arabs. Verse 44 says, but I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them that despitefully use you and persecute you. And I be telling brothers, like, it don't matter what you take with that, man. Somebody that's persecuting you, somebody that's using you, somebody that's hating you, somebody that's, despitefully using, like, I don't care where that's coming from. That's hard to do. That's a hard thing to do. And that is an enemy. You know what I'm saying? That ain't a brother who don't win off. A brother who you still eating pepperoni pizzas. No, this is somebody that's, throwing you in jail, man. This is telling you to love somebody that's using you, man. Constantly using you, man, and then going out and talking about it, man. How I use this joker, man. That joker ain't got no sense. Let's continue on and watch how they try to justify this brotherly love.
Exactly what you asking?
Because I was confused. I didn't know if that was talking about like loving our enemies as far as like the Edomites, all the other enemies outside of our nation, not as far as our brothers being our enemies. Okay. I just took it in terms of saying love your enemies, but I was like,
so a perfect example of what Yahushua is teaching here is how Saul despitefully used David. How Saul multiple times tried to kill David. How Saul had made himself an enemy to David. And David had multiple chances to kill him.
And so we saying that this is an example, and it's not. It's not. It's not talking about that. And this is the exact same thing this is the exact conversation that the Pharisees would have. And that's why we got to be careful with it. We don't even understand we having those same situations. He said, love thy neighbor as thyself. One of the greatest commandments, one of the two greatest commandments. Love thy neighbor as thyself. And then brother comes and say, well, who's thy neighbor? And then he goes and gives this example of the Samaritan, of the Good Samaritan. People that, Israel or Judea, Jews, because Northern Kingdom is not really there, man. All right, I done showed you Deacon, and I showed you Captain Tazariak, because who is Brother Phineas? Showed you both of them saying that the Northern Kingdom is not there. They can't be going down the Euphrates and in America, and be in in Samaria and in Galilee and scattered about Rome in those 4 provinces, and they can't be in both places, man, and scattered by the Assyrians. So you'll see those little trickles of Northern Kingdom within the text, but they are called by their tribe, which is problematic also. They're called by their actual tribe. So, if the Bible doesn't teach this, right? Let me show you something. If the Bible doesn't teach this, let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 10. Let me show you what the Bible teaches. Deuteronomy chapter 10. And Deuteronomy 10 and 19 says, love ye therefore the stranger, for ye were strangers in the land of Egypt. And this was that brother's gonna try to change all kind of definitions. Now, well, that stranger is a stranger of your own people that waxing poor. That ain't what that's saying. It's giving you the definition of a stranger. It's the same kind of stranger that you were when you were in the land of Egypt. Let me read it again for you. Love ye therefore the stranger, for ye were strangers in the land of Egypt. Let me go up a verse. He doeth execute judgment of the fatherless and widow, and loveth the stranger, and giving him food and raiment. Okay, the Most High gives justice for the fatherless, the widow, and the stranger by giving them food and raiment. Verse 19, love ye therefore the stranger, for ye were strangers. You were strangers in Egypt. What kind of stranger were you in Egypt? Were you a brother waxing poor? Then you can't put that into that context, man. Do comparative text on that verse. That's another problematic verse, man. That we getting tripped up on, the italic words in the Old English. And our presuppositions on going into the text. We already have in our head, we already subscribe to certain doctrines in our head. We can't read the text purely. And that's what's stunting our growth. That's why Paul had to get that, even to Paul receive his sight. That's why that scale came out of his eye. That pride in them presuppositions on that we have on the text, feeling that it's no way we could be wrong on that. But I just want y'all to just deal with that, man. The initial stance that he comes in. Let me see if I can play this for you one more time.
That was in the law, but when it says in 44, it says, "But saying that you love your enemy," and it's talking about
That's not in the law. What precept says hate your enemies?
Say it again.
What scripture says hate your enemy? When he says ye have heard, that's the tradition of the elders. The Bible don't really teach hate your enemy. It says hate the evil, love the good.
The Bible don't really teach hate your enemies. And again, because he's been indoctrinated, I was indoctrinated. I still am indoctrinated, and this is why I do these videos to purge out the leaven among my doctrine, so that I can look at this thing purely, and we can try to get it as right as we can possibly get it. You know what I'm saying? Within our lifetime, within our lifespan, until the chariots come, whatever you feel that is. And so we just got to be careful, man, that we're not out here holding on to the doctrine of the elders, because guess what that would be? That would be an antichrist. If you're out here teaching hate thy enemies, and he just gave you in Matthew 5 is telling you that was something that was taught by your elders, and he's coming in to correct this, then you are an antichrist. All right, you're teaching a heretical doctrine, and you can be in danger of hellfire, teaching that. So examine it, you know what I'm saying? Examine the things that were brought out, and come to your own conclusion. Every man got to work out his own salvation. And with that, I'm gonna say shalom, y'all.